say congratulations on such a fantastic album.
Thank you very much. I'm not lying. The whole band is also kind of super excited, very happy and proud how it all turned out.
So how tough was it for you guys to actually put together this album? Because I know that a lot of the world has been in lockdown for the last 12 months. So how difficult was it for you guys to actually work on the album and then record it?
So the whole process for the pandemic actually took over the world. So in 2019, I joined the band, and quite soon afterwards, we realized that we were about to lose current guitar player, the amazing Ronnie Seppänen, who kind of had to step out of the band for like being able to keep his day job and support the family. So also like a week after, we realized that we need to do another album and kind of get on with it and really do it soon. So everything started with a lot of rushing and a big haste. And we had this kind of a meeting with just me, James, and Santeri at James's place, where we listened to some of the ideas that James had captured. Some of them were like half a minute, some of them were maybe 2 or 3 minutes. But we just decided on a like set of song ideas that which we should then work on, and especially which James should work on, because he does the core writing and the main writing parts, and the instrumentals were done by him with just 2 or 3 months or that, because we were already having to recruit a new guitarist and then rehearse like hell, on the January before doing our first headline tour in February 2020. And while you're out there on tour, there's still so much things to take care of by ourselves and to do all through the day. There's really not much time for learning new songs or anything. Maybe some of the ideas were maybe shaping a little bit down there on the road. I know we were all listening to the songs and we were discussing them, but I'm not sure how much it actually affected anything. I think during the past 2 or 3 months, James had already created the instrumental tracks, so none of the vocals were in just yet.
Yeah.
And then we fast forward to February, and we come to the phase where we were supposed to go to the studio straight after the tour, but instead we had the possibility to postpone it for 1 month later, which we ended up doing. So me and Santeri had some time, like almost a month, to just into those songs and learn our parts and suggest any modifications to the parts. And this was like still the time that we thought that we are in a hurry. After the studio time was done with the bass and drums and we had gotten all of the guitars down, we realized how everything had stopped and the pandemic just took over, and all of the gigs and tours, we had like 5 months of tours of something, planned for 2020. All of it was shut down and cancelled. So after this, we really started, okay, what's going on? There was a kind of a short break in between where nothing happened actually with the album. We were just looking at the world and thinking like, oh my God, what's going on? And James has been quite openly talking about the fact that he had a bit of a burnout because the band had been so busy for so long. All of a sudden, everything just stops. Someone pulls out the rug beneath your feet. And we kind of got everything restarted. And then it was like 4 months or so doing the vocals and getting the lyrics done and everything, recording the vocals. And loads of messages were just sent with the chatting applications, like every day, about the vocals, about the mixes, about the mastering, whatever. So it was like we had different phases to this album. It was kind of a strange one, but at the same time, I think we benefited from the fact that we had like more time to do it than if we would have needed to do it in between all of the tour.
Yeah, you mentioned having to find a new band member in there. What was that experience like, finding a new band member? Because that's almost like trying to find a new family member.
Yeah, it really is, because bands are kind of like relationships. You end up spending so much time that even the smallest things could start bugging you or whatever, so that you really need people that you can spend much time with and you are good discussing with, because sometimes you just don't agree on stuff, and then it's all about how do we discuss and form a consensual group and then go further, go on, you know. It wasn't always easy, actually. Like, we had our player for the February tour, JC Haltunen, who was really delivering everything he got, and he's a great player. But somewhere during the spring, we really just realized that we have a bit of a different style and taste, and he wasn't like the perfect fit for this group. So we split ways, and we're still on great terms. We have nothing to say about the guy. We just love him. It was great to have him, but we just kind of realized that this is not the wheel that should exist for now. So then we split ways in the middle of the recording, which actually made James play all of the guitars on the album. So basically the album was kind of done as a trio. You know, also a real special situation for us, I think. And then last summer, we spent some time thinking about who to kind of propose for the group, you know. And we went to some guys, we had some discussion. But it wasn't before Santeri actually came up with the idea of asking Jussi Turunen, who I also, not too well, but I had played with the guy, and I was immediately saying that, yeah, that could work. We should really try it with him. And then we spent some time just talking with Jussi and playing some music. We had a couple of sessions, and really we weren't in a haste anymore. So we just spent some time and made sure that Jussi got all of his questions answered, and the playing felt great, like straight away with him. So it was really kind of an easy one. But of course, while you're having a band that should be a quartet, and you only have 3 guys, you're just doing an album, and you don't know, what to do with it, where to go next. It is also very stressful. But then when you found the perfect guy to fulfill the group, it's such a relief. And we were just discussing this with James, and I don't even remember how it felt to be, hanging in there and not telling everyone, but yeah, we're missing one person.
Yeah.
Now it's all great again, and I think we have a dream team to go the long way.
Definitely. And also, what kind of things were inspiring you when you sat down to work on this album? I know the new single took inspiration from a Dan Simmons series, but were there other things that were kind of inspiring you when you sat down to work on this album?
I think at least we went through some discussion of how Moving Backwards was and what we liked about it and what maybe wasn't like the best representation of the album or the band in that album. And we were discussing, for example, the sound production and the dynamics and maybe something about the riffs and songs and stuff like this, but mainly like we were aiming for a bit of a different sound. And I think this was a process that was a little controlled, but a like happy incident in the end, that we started out doing the album so that we were aiming for more of a human sound. Because in these times, you can basically edit anything. And you can also kind of over-edit. You could track a human being playing, and then you could edit it to sound like a robot,
Yeah, yeah.
Not judging anybody, but possible because of the tools that everybody has, even at their home. So we were aiming for something more kind of a fragile and vulnerable and like just honest. And in the album, you can really places where the tempo kind of picks up and the groove really moves. And this is something I think James and Santeri especially had realized during the touring after the Moving Backwards album. That maybe Moving Back was feeling a little bit stiff. And with this album, we kind of want to have the feeling of the band actually playing live to be more well represented. And I think the album still sounds tight, as it should, but it also has this kind of a human element. And one of the factors doing this was the fact that at some point while we were tracking the second single, Hyperion, Santeri was playing the chorus, and all of a sudden he just stops playing and starts speaking to the talkback microphone like, yeah, this doesn't feel right. We really need to get rid of that click track, And we were all feeling like, what did you say? But at the same time, at least for myself, that was like, yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah.
It's going to be old school style. I'm really drawn towards like these vintage sounds and bands we were just playing organically and not always following a click track or whatever. And you can really feel the tempo shifting and changing like in a natural way. I think, for example, Rage Against the Machine is something I've all been listening to loads and loads of. So you can hear in those songs that sometimes, for example, a chorus needs to pull back a little bit to get heavier, a verse push a little bit more to get funkier or whatever. So this is something that we also want to kind of experiment with, but it's kind of scary. It was maybe a bit more scary for James somehow because he's also doing a lot of editing and production stuff.
Yeah.
But we were just excited to take a jump, like a leap of faith on it. Ended up playing in the studio a lot of the time, so that at least I was playing with the drums like all the time. But also James had his guitar in the control room so that he could plug in and play with us. And I think especially the choruses of Hyperion were done in that manner, that we were playing all together, and mainly we were tracking drums, but also the bass and guitar was going down there. We ended up redoing all of the bass after the week of the drum record. It certainly benefited the feeling of the album.
Yeah.
Definitely, because it has more human side to it. It also came apparent with the lyrics, because James was checking out stuff like discussion after George Floyd's murder in the United States, what happened in the internet, how people were talking about it. So the song really isn't strictly about the murder and George Floyd's fate in itself, but the aftermath of it, like how people were, judging each other and, just fighting all over it and really losing maybe the main point of the whole scene itself.
Yeah.
At the same time, he was James was reading the books of Dan Simmons, Peter and Cantos, and there were loads of themes that just spoke to him. And once he started explaining to me and Santeri, we were really just feeling like, yeah, you should definitely write about this. That would work, because he could draw comparisons from those themes to the times we are living in, with the pandemic going on, and people maybe sometimes forgetting that we are all just the same. We're of the same, like we're equal, and we want the same things. We want happiness and love and, safety and stuff like that. We want to be healthy. We want to live and survive.
Yeah.
But eventually also combined with the fact that we all just come from somewhere and then we go somewhere. We are born and death the same planet, and we are all just human.
Definitely. And you mentioned that really raw kind of sound that's there, the natural sound. Some doom metal bands, to kind of get that natural sound, have even gone back to recording analog style and gone back to analog studios. Is that something that you could see you guys trying in the future as well?
I think we're really open to anything, and after this, we might be more drawn towards the experimentation like that. Of course, also going to studios and stuff like this, money, you really don't want to make too much of these kind of approaches. Like, yeah, let's give it a go. Oh, okay, it didn't work, so we are not going to use it. So we really want to aim for something that we can actually use afterwards. But now that you mention it, analog gear, for me, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, that could easily happen. And at least now I think we're kind of more confident also about the whole thing of maybe not always having a click track, maybe not always editing all of the cymbal hits or guitar notes or bass picks or whatever, So I'm just kind of curious to see what we're going next, because this was really like a natural continuation to moving backwards, but also stepping further away from.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of bands actually talk about the fact that their second album, they feel a lot more pressure when they're working on it than they do their first album. Did you notice any extra pressure with this album?
I think there's always some, and in a way, I think psychologically, the way human beings react to stress is a positive one, as long as there is not too much stress, like continuing just indefinitely. So I think we were feeling some pressure, of course, but also I think the music kind of leads the way anyway. So once we had decided on the ideas that we want to dig deeper on, and James started to write on those, it just felt like natural that, okay, there was something in the mood and sounds of these small pieces of music that once you kind of just follow the path, it feels natural. It kind of takes some of that pressure away because you're just letting the music thing and letting it happen also. A lot of the inspiration, I think, comes from just letting the art produce itself in a way, even though it doesn't feel that easy most of the time.
Yeah.
But you just gotta follow it and listen to it and find a way. And I think with this album we have loads of all kinds of twists and turns in the way, but the way it turned out, it was so rewarding that I think we're going to be exploring the same kind of things and processes further in the future. At least I know I would be interested in doing that.
Definitely.
But yeah, there was definitely some pressure, but I don't think there was anything that was going to kind of decide, like, should we do another moving backwards. I don't think any, like, really successful album or something that people really remember after 50 years or so has ever been done, so that, hey, should we reproduce what we... No, instead it's like taking a full turn in the other direction and finding something new. And that usually, it lasts the better. You know, you could go back for like 40 years or so and still find that album and feel like, yeah, there's something going on here and it's really cool. So we're not really interested in finding any kind of a pattern and then just reproducing it. No, you got to step on a new path kind of all the time.
Definitely. And I guess we are running out of time very, very quickly. So to finish up, I'll just ask, is there anything you would like to say to your Australian fans out there before they get a chance to go out and grab a copy of the album?
I think just thanks for the interest, really thanks for listening, and thanks for being patient for us to cross the pond and come over, because we're really eager to do it. Of course, there's this pandemic we just first had to get rid of. But for now, really just thanks for the interest, thanks for the growing numbers of interest, and just keep it real. And we'll be out there, definitely. Just check out the album, and I think you're really, really going to love it.
Awesome. Well, we cannot wait to see you guys, hopefully in Australia one day as well, for a tour when everything opens back up. But for now, thank you so much for chatting to us tonight. It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for this wonderful album.
Thank you very much for having me, having us, and just really keep it real, and we'll be seeing you definitely in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll let you go, but have a great day.
You too, mate. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.